Welcome to the first unit of AP US History. Okay, so history is divided by the advanced placement gurus into 9 periods. So here they are. We will follow the periods, but there may be several different units inside each period. So you can see that some of them go on for over 100 years. So there's going to be a lot of units in that period. Okay? All right, so let's get started. Period 1 is Precolumbian America, and this is Unit 1. 1491 to 1607 is our period timeline. So we're going to start talking about Native Americans. So how were American Indian people like European civilizations at the same time? They had laws, they had rules, they had a form of government. They were not uncivilized. So the readings that you probably have already done, hopefully, if you did your homework, um, gave you a glimpse into the idea that these people were not savages, just different. They didn't have written down rules like Europeans did, but they had rules that they had to abide by. They knew how to use the land around them, just like Europeans did. They uh, they were their own independent people. So I think we tend to think they were savages, and the white world came over here and straightened them up. They were these sweet, innocent figures who didn't know Monday from Tuesday, but that's completely wrong. These were entire systems of people who had a oral tradition. Sure, that's just different from Europeans, but they had traditions and laws and ways of life. And the Europeans came over and poo-pooed all of it, even the parts that were like themselves. They just took something that did not belong to them. So let's look at the population. Paris, France, London, the British Isles. You see how many miles they have and how many people are inside of it. So in America, there was not in North America and Central America there weren't as many people, but it's still pretty grand. So look at this, especially Central America. Look at that, 112 million people. France only had 16 million people, so it is pretty comparable. You don't have to memorize these, by the way. I just want you to kind of see that it wasn't just this little teeny tiny group of people over here waiting to be taken over. They were massive groups of people. There are tribes that disappeared so fast once the white man came over here that their names were lost forever. We don't know they existed. So we find remnants of tribes throughout time, and really don't even know what we're looking at because we've lost their history and wiped out the tribe. So it wasn't a sparse population that was taken over by the European powers when they came over here. All right, so we're going to talk about a specific place, Cahokia. I can never say that right. Cahokia. And you can see that it is in present day Illinois. Hopefully, you know that. If you don't, you will by the end of the stuff that I'm going to teach you. Okay, so it's in modern day Iowa or Illinois. Sorry, Illinois. Um, so this is kind of the remnants of it. So we consider this to be America's very first real city. And it was definitely a melting pot. Many tribes came here together to create this place. This is what it looks like today, so there's not much left of it. But they were a very, very large, prosperous, productive city that was taken down by white Europeans. This is also another major city that was initially created by natives and taken over by Spanish European powers. You might recognize it as Mexico City. So when the Aztecs came looking for land, a place to settle forever and forever, they were supposed to look for a cactus in the middle of water. Sorry, a bird sitting on a cactus in the middle of water, and the bird should have a snake in its mouth. And supposedly they found this. And when the natives approached it, by golly, there was a cactus growing out of the water, and there was a bird sitting on it with a snake in his mouth, and that is now the Mexican flag. So this is the first real city in Central America, and it is now Mexico City. So, why would Europeans want new lands? Europeans wanted new lands because of many different reasons. One of the big ones is primogeniture. So, hopefully, if you've done your vocab, you know that that means that the eldest son gets everything. So, what about second son, third son? What about the daughters? What about the children of those children? So they came to America looking for something to call their own because they weren't going to get it at home. So they needed new land. They needed somebody else to trade with. So why not go and trade with the natives? And that did happen a little bit, but we killed them so quickly with disease that there really wasn't a whole lot of time to let that happen. So we want land, we want riches, we want new markets, we want glory. So the three G's, gold, God, and glory, are definitely still what we consider to be a motive for Europeans coming and taking the new land. Now, the French were a little bit different. The French really came here wanting to learn from the natives. They didn't want their land, they wanted to live with them, and they wanted the Indians to teach them. Teach us how to trap beaver. Teach us how to skin it. We don't know how to skin it. And the Indians allowed the French to live with them in their tribes and taught them. So that is a very different relationship. Now, the downfall to that is Frenchmen drink. They always have. And so they are the first to introduce alcohol to the natives here in America. And now alcoholism is probably the top problem on tribal lands across the United States. So the French were actually responsible for that. Now, why did the natives let this happen? Here's the thing. Natives didn't let anything happen. Well, first of all, we gave them smallpox, which wiped out over half of them, if not more. We're just guessing it was half. It could have been way more than that. There have been cases where there's a movie that was made about it a few years ago. I can't remember what the name. I think it's not A Walk in the Clouds. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, it is this couple who came in contact with a tribe, and they were slowly getting to know them. And there is a case where one of the people in the white group kisses an Indian on the cheek, and within a month, the entire tribe is dead because of that one kiss. That's how fast smallpox happened. And at one point, we will give them smallpox on purpose. We'll give them blankets infected with it. So it's not like they were standing back, opening the door, saying, "Come on in and take everything I have." Another thing is that when Europeans came over and said, "I can't take we want your land," and the natives said, "We can't give it to you," the Europeans saw that as a challenge. Come take it. That's not what the natives meant at all. The natives did not believe that you could own land. They said it was like owning air. You can't own the air around you. How can you own land? So they didn't understand the concept. So when white man said, "Give me your land," and they said no, they weren't saying, "No, it's mine, you can't have it." They were saying, "There's no way to own land. I don't understand what you're talking about." And so whites really came after them with everything they had because they saw it as a challenge, and the natives were not expecting that. So they were very much taken by surprise and by illness and a depleted population. They did not just stand back and let this happen. There are many instances of rebellions and fighting back from the native side. So I don't want you to think that they were just these weak little people that said, "Come on in, great white father," which is what they had to call the president of the United States. It wasn't like that at all.